Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, these types of Reddit reaction videos have grown on me. I think they're pretty funny and interesting. On Tap Studios, original link, top of the description. My name's Connor, if you're new. Hey guys. Americans in Europe. What is that? Americans' reaction to stuff in Europe? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. It says it right here. Americans of Reddit, what were the biggest culture shocks you experienced when in Europe? Fun. Let's check it out. Let's go. Hope everyone's doing well.
Reddit, what were the biggest culture shocks you experienced when in Europe? People handle alcohol well. There are no cops. EU friend comes to America, tries to drink beer on bus. Cops get involved. Can't drink on the bus in London anymore.
Is that a thing? Is that fine to do? I know it said not in London anymore, but can you just drink on a public bus?
Difference in personal space. I went to Spain for a study abroad, and the amount of physical space between me and other people made me extremely uncomfortable at first. Can feel you in my bubble.
I feel like Americans would be used to having not much personal space.
You should come to Sweden. After a while you'd be longing for someone to enter your space. Haha.
Oh my god, I'm an idiot again. I thought people were too close. No, weren't. I thought people were like too far away, and you felt awkward or something. Okay, great start by me.
After a while you'd be longing for someone to enter your space. Haha. I lived in Belgium for a year. The thing that most surprised me was the bureaucracy. Want to transfer classes in America? You log onto the school's website from your apartment, spend 5 minutes filling out an online form, and you're done. In Belgium, bring 3 copies of Form A to the registrar's office. On one side of campus if your last name starts with AK, the other if it starts with KZ, and make sure you bring a passport-sized photo.
I lived in Belgium for a year. The thing most surprising is bureaucracy. Want to okay.
I will give you 2 copies of Form B. Fill it out. Bring it to the office of the department in question. 2 trips if the classes are in different departments. Then get Form C signed by both professors. Bring that back to the registrar. And compounding things, a lot of these offices are only open a few hours a day, a few days of the week, and not necessarily at the same time, which makes this a multi-day process.
Sounds like the DMV.
Getting transit passes, registering a change of address, basically anything that involves any branch of the public administration was a similar pain in the ass. It's obviously an oversimplification to say America is freer than Belgium, but life over there can sometimes feel very regimented. The Fanta. I'm guessing you didn't go to Paris, then. I was
What? I know Fanta is a German orange soda, but
I'm guessing you didn't go to Paris, then. I was surprised that French people were so freaking nice to me. I am wandering around their country without knowing a single word of French, and every time I needed help a random old French man would help me. As someone on the bus to Prague from Vienna at this moment, it's nice. Probably the time I went to an American restaurant in Germany and
what does going from Prague to Vienna have to do with France?
Guys. Probably the time I went to an American restaurant in Germany and everyone ate their burgers with forks and knives. Haha, reminds me of the time I went to KFC in Vietnam and they were eating fried chicken with knives and forks, as though they've heard somewhere that Westerners eat with knives and forks, not dissimilar to the Asians use chopsticks mantra, and decided to just go along with it.
I find myself being a hypocrite because a lot of the times I'm like, let me eat how I want to eat, right? Like, it's my food. I'm just going to eat it how I want to eat it. Why judge people? And then I hear something like cutting your pizza or your burger with a fork and knife and eating it that way. I'm like, that is blasphemy. So I'm a hypocrite.
Asians use chopsticks mantra and decided to just go along with it. A Greek restaurant owner literally stuck a meatball in my mouth. I tasted thumb. Really nice guy. He didn't seem to think anything of it. The meatball was really good though. Could have been the taste of his thumb, I suppose. But I ordered a few meatballs and wrote down his store's name so I could visit again if I ever return to Athens. I consider this culture shock because I have since come to assume that all Greeks are comfortable putting their thumbs in your mouth.
People are funny.
Could have been the taste of his thumb, I suppose. Greek thumb is quite the delicacy. So much smoking.
Yeah. That, again, coming from someone from America, a country notoriously unhealthy, a lot of obese people, a lot of, gun violence, a lot of unhealthy things, not a great voice crack, horrible healthcare system. But, so I just want to say that. I'm not saying like you guys are more unhealthy, you're way more healthy. But I wasn't even looking for it when I went to Europe. It just was so obvious that so many more people in Europe smoke cigarettes than the USA. It's like the only thing the USA, I guess, is slightly healthier on. I wasn't looking for it. It was just you couldn't not notice it. It would be like not looking for obese people when you go to the USA, but then just it being so obvious. So I'm not trying to say,
Why is it always about Americans? I'm Australian. I've traveled to Europe. Here am I. I'm from South Carolina. A friend and I were having lunch in London during our trek through Europe and noticed a lot of business women with facial piercings. I'm talking full business pantsuit and lip nose rings. You just don't see that down here. Oh, and the two women having a meeting at the table beside us said frick about every fourth word. People not being so uptight about everything. I lived in Italy for a few years in the early 90s and also traveled to Germany a fair bit during that time, and all the various European folks, Italians and Germans, mostly, but also some Brits, Poles, etc. My family and I met were just totally free and chill about everything. Mom died, she was lovely, I'll weep, but that's life. Car got stolen, it's only a short walk to work anyway. The cops will sort it out soon enough. I was fairly young back then, but heard that kind of stuff be treated like it was the little end of the world. So I was kind of blown away by people not having a frickin' conniption 40 or 50 times a year. I don't know if it's just a heck of a coincidence or what, but I've noticed since we got back.
Oh my god, jump scare. Sorry guys. I'll react to that, sure. That you heard it. When I finish uploading my videos on one of my programs, it pops up, and then it plays, so sorry about that.
I don't know if it's just a heck of a coincidence or what, but I've noticed since we got back to the States in 1995 that all of my friends who either A. have spent time in Europe outside the US, in general, or B. are not from the US, in the first place are able to handle life with about 1,000,000 times less stress than my friends who were born here and have never left. I will answer the other way around. I'm French, and the biggest culture shock I had when I went to the USNY and NJ was the fact that some people were terrified of strangers. We had a rental car and were trying to go to...
I just want to say something about this last one. I think Europe has a much more... I mean, you're much older societies. You don't have... you have siesta time or break time, a healthier work-life balance. And so I think that'll contribute to a little less stressful outlook, you know?
The biggest culture shock I had when I went to the USNY and NJ was the fact that some people were terrified of strangers. We had a rental car and were trying to go to one place we couldn't find on a map. In Europe it's quite common to stop your car by the sidewalk and ask pedestrians, but in America people were freaking afraid of approaching. I was like 14, not on the driver's seat obviously, at the time, and people wouldn't come help me. I remember a woman telling me, "Sorry, I won't come near you, sweetie." Well, it was either fear or disgust of my French stench, I guess.
I'm surprised about that. Especially if you have a foreign accent and people are going to be like, "Oh, they're not from around here." I'm surprised. I feel like people would have... That's surprising. Wow.
Well, it was either fear or disgust of my French stench, I guess. People in Europe were better at speaking at English than I was at speaking their language. In 3 different countries, people stopped me from trying to speak their language and just spoke to me in English. Looking back, it is highly possible that my English, and not my German, actually improved when I visited Germany. It was fascinating.
So true. If you've watched many of my videos, especially like the travel videos, you've heard I only have a few stories, okay? But one of my classic stories is I remember being in France, and France compared to like Germany wasn't as good at speaking English. I only know one language. I feel so dumb when I'm talking to someone who knows both my language and their own. But France is not a lot of French speakers. They don't speak English. But I do remember one time I was in a restaurant. I got to speed it up. Long story short, I was in a restaurant with my dad and brother. I had to get up to go to the bathroom. I went to the bar to ask the bartender, with my best French, where's the bathroom? It was like Paul le Bonnet, or I forget what it was. But I don't know how he knew I was American. And I asked him in French, and he just responds in perfect English, "It's downstairs to the right." And that cracked me up, and I've never forget that. I've never forgotten that.
Actually improved when I visited Germany. It was fascinating. Restaurants are only open for lunch, then dinner, and are closed in between. In France, we showed up to a restaurant at 1 p.m. and they said they couldn't serve us. We just bought some snacks and had a large dinner, so not a big deal. Being from the San Francisco Bay Area, I'm just used to restaurants staying open all day.
See, there's another thing that goes back to the kind of more lax attitude, which I'm sure makes them less stressful than Americans. Is Americans' culture is like, if you got a business, outcompete, stay open as long as you can. But in countries like France and Spain, it's like they know, and it's accepted in culture, that not everything is about business and maximizing profit. There's a balance in life, and like, hey, yeah, I might lose some customers' money by not being open all day, but that's part of the culture, and I love that.
The fact that people really do react negatively to you being from America. I went to Germany while Bush was president. At one of the bars, a girl my age berated my friend and I about Bush for a solid 30 minutes. Despite the fact that neither my friend nor I voted for him, nor did Bush even win Minnesota's electoral vote, she couldn't get it through her head we didn't like Bush either.
From my experience, again, meeting people, like there's one specific instance in Germany. We went off the beaten path to it was a town called Koblenz, which it's a random town, very, non-touristy. It's just a town in Germany. We just wanted to go off of the highway for once and just experience someplace randomly. And we went into a bar, and there were only 2 people in the bar. There was the bartender and then one older guy at the bench. Me, my dad, and my brother went in, and we couldn't speak German. They couldn't speak English, but it was awesome. He gave me and my brother free shots for whoever could learn 1 to 10 in German the fastest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember that. It was a great time. And then we went across the street to get like a donor thing. And this was back in like 2014 or something. So they were Syrians. And so Syrians and Americans, not a lot of people in the Middle East, rightfully so, don't like America. But they too were very welcoming and extremely kind. Everyone we met was very nice. So
Germany, they leave the milk out at meals and it gets warm. Warm beer. Teenagers drink, but are mostly responsible about it. Blutwurst. Sausage made of blood. It is morally offensive to pass on the right on the autobahn. Saw one car do this. You'd think he kicked a puppy. Denmark. Unhealthy fascination with fish. I asked a guy what a good Danish gift I could get my wife would be. He recommended herring. People take leaves of absence from their jobs for months at a time. They return to their old jobs like nothing happened. Scotland. I knew they were speaking English, but I couldn't understand them. Of
What are you doing?
the dozen or so countries I've been to, this is only place that happened. Europe in general, people have a disdain for Americans, except for the ones they have actually met. I had to explain more than once that movies and TV do not equal reality. Practically everybody speaks English.
I find that even if there's people have a bad first impression of you being American, I think if you're just a nice person and cordial and just talk with people a bit, then you're gonna be fine, you know. Also, this is true. It is morally offensive to pass on the right on the autobahn. So is the right the passing lane? Like over here, the left lane is the fast lane, right? And so if someone isn't going fast enough behind you in the fast lane and you try to pass them by going to the right lane, that's offensive.
They are
Especially on the autobahn.
shocked when you speak their language. The Danes don't even want you to try. The shops close at 5 p.m. Seriously? It is morally offensive to pass on the right on the autobahn. Saw one car do this. You'd think he kicked a puppy. It's actually illegal and against the law to pass on the right, primarily due to the missing speed limit. Warm beer. That's not a common thing here. They put mayonnaise on.
See, that sounds counterintuitive to me because since there are no speed limits on the autobahn, that if someone in front of you is going too slow on the autobahn that has no speed limit, then you're probably going to pass. I thought it would be more acceptable on the autobahn. That's interesting.
Warm beer. That's not a common thing theater. They put mayonnaise on French fries in Holland, and in the movie theaters you can buy a glass of beer. Can I point out that we Dutch have the better version of mayonnaise, not the dribble you can get across the Atlantic Ocean.
You can buy beer at McDonald's. I got a Heineken in a French McDonald's, all right? And I know some of you might be thinking you're going to a foreign continent, foreign countries, and you decide to eat at a McDonald's, right? That you can get in America. But we were driving, and so sometimes it was late. We just wanted something quick to eat. You can buy a Heineken there. Rhode Island, the state that I come from, is more strict than other states when it comes to buying alcohol. Of course, you have to be 21, like everywhere in the U.S., but they only sell them in liquor stores. Like a lot of other states, you can buy them in. You can buy alcohol in convenience stores and gas stations. Not here. Only that.
I've tried it a couple of times abroad, but it's way too sour. Our version is more sweet. The food is really good. Everywhere I went the food was great. While I was living in Spain, I frequently stopped at a truck stop on the way home from Sevilla because it was awesome. Also, people seem to have a much smaller comfort zone. When I was in Germany, I was really impressed by how bakeries seem to be ubiquitous. Not that my homeland of Canada has no bakeries, but it was nowhere near the level in Germany. The distinction was certainly a good one though.
Another thing I noticed is that, and this seems to be a lot of places in Europe, in France, in Belgium, and the Netherlands, in Germany, the food and gas station, gas stations have like a inside place you can get some food and stuff. Over here, that stuff's always nasty, right? But over there, like the prepackaged sandwiches, for example, which I would ignore over here in any gas station, they were good. Like, they were good food from a gas station.
Everywhere I went, some sort of currency had to be exchanged for a trip to the
hate this
restroom.
part.
Whether it was paying for the public one under the Louvre or just having to buy a drink at a cafe in order to use their toilet, I didn't dare to use the ones on the sidewalk.
Also, just the toilets that aren't in the Louvre or in a restaurant. Did you say that? Or at a cafe, but just a small building where they have, really tiny building where they have bathrooms in it. You'd have to pay for those too. And like, what happens if you like, you gotta go, right? Do I just like crap my pants if I don't have any coins or?
To use their toilet, I didn't dare to use the ones on the sidewalk. You can't really talk about Europe as if it was a single country. Europe is a chaos of countries, and we're all different.
It's a continent.
How nice everyone was. Paying to use a restroom and outdoor urinals. No convenience stores. Well, they were different, the whole shopping experience. Everything is small. The cars are small. The roads are small. The food portions are small. Even the trees are kinda small. This is completely inverted in Munich. Even the pillows are huge. Whose head is even that big? Also, the scenery and buildings outside the window from the train seriously looked like all the classical paintings and postcards. It was really beautiful. And especially in Germany, the trains were A+ amazing and everything was so clean. The hatred some people had.
As someone who has taken, I went to college in New York City, the subways are filthy. Filthy. And so when I went to like underground and train stations there, it's like it blows you away. It's like, this is so clean.
Towards me just because I'm American. That all, not all, but a lot of them spoke perfect English. Those freaking travel dictionaries were practically useless. Sorry. I'd say the beer in the hotel lobby's vending machine was my example. So chill about it. Same was at my university. Super cheap cold beer in a vending machine. I've lived in Paris and Bordeaux for a couple of years, so they refer.
Wait a second, though. So, what would stop like a 12-year-old of just getting a beer? This is the thing. This is why I think the European attitude towards drinking is so much better, because over here, it's like, of course, you party in high school and college before you're 21, but I think it inverted, like I think our drinking culture and having our drinking age at 21 actually makes it so younger kids, late teenagers, learn to drink heavily. And then, I think Europe does this way better.
Same was at my university. Super cheap cold beer in a vending machine. I've lived in Paris and Bordeaux for a couple of years, so they refers to French, especially Parisian. Two things. One, hierarchy. It's everywhere, particularly among the bourgeoisie. It's in how people look at you in the metro, how people talk about others, the formality of certain greetings and meetings, the relationships between myself and my students, and how I address the director, the way immigrants are viewed, particularly those of different races, almost without exception. How many people you need to talk to get anything done, aka bureaucracy. In my friends' relationships, we have hierarchies in the US as well, but they are much less rigid and with many more exceptions.
What do you guys think of this? Do you think this is someone just looking to criticize, or do you think this is true?
2. Their online banking is terrible. Seriously, guys. 21st century. Everyone in Paris smokes everywhere. I was still smoking then and was thrilled to be able to light up anywhere I was, including in a restaurant. Horse in the meat section at the grocery.
I'd try it.
Transportation. Here, if you don't have a car, you're fricked. You either walk 15-30 miles or pay a friend to drive you. In the 3 weeks I spent in Europe, Paris, Versailles, Brussels, Bruges, Amsterdam, I didn't ride in a car once.
Also, your streets are so beautiful because of the public transportation that's so easy in Europe. You don't have to have giant streets and parking lots everywhere, which ruin the aesthetic and the walkability of cities. And so you're able to have these beautiful, just car-free walking areas, like cobblestone paths and everything.
The public transportation infrastructure was efficient and universally available. Plus, everything was so close together. If I didn't feel like taking the metro, I could walk. I remember, just for the fun of it, walking from Central to Leidseplein in Amsterdam, which, after looking at a map, seemed to be a good chunk of the distance across the city. The city I live near, not in, but near, takes 30 minutes to drive across on the interstate at 70 miles per hour, 112 kilometers per hour. Nothing is within walking distance. We have buses, but they're horribly inefficient and only come every 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the route.
And depending on where you are. Like in the Northeast, like from Boston down to like DC, it's pretty good train transportation. Buses in Rhode Island where I live are okay. But even this is like notoriously like the best public transportation in our country is up here in the Northeast, and it's still horrible compared to European.
We have no commuter rail of any kind, no subway, no tram, nothing. The only way to get from the town I live into the city is to either drive, slip a friend with a car $10, or pay a cab $50 or so. I love the public transit. I would gladly sell my car, buy a rail pass, and take the metro every day if it was an option. I could buy a rail pass for the entire year for what I pay for my car in a month, and not have to deal with traffic. Canadian here. I think getting used to Dutch people kissing me 3 times each was a little hard at first. I'm not that close with others here, so when I visit I get bombarded with at least 5 people kissing me like crazy when I walk in the door. In some countries it's 2 times, or 4. In some countries it's only when one of the people meeting is a woman. In others it's everyone. In some countries it's only close friends. In other it's everyone. In some countries they just don't kiss one another. When people from different parts of Europe have to greet each other, it's always a minfuck.
Yeah, it gives me a little like anxiety because like how do you know if it's like a 1 kiss on the cheek or a 2 kiss or a 3 kiss? Because then I feel weird. I'm just like, oh, just 1 cheek, and then they're going in for the other, and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe I'm just socially awkward mess.
People from different parts of Europe have to greet each other, it's always a minfuck. I was in Northern Ireland as an exchange student in the 90s. They close everything down. Stores, restaurants, everything for bank holidays. There are tons of bank holidays, and nobody even knows what the holiday is. That people don't sit on the floors. Like right now I'm sitting on the floor with my computer on the couch. When I moved to Poland, the family I was staying with looked at me like some kind of barbarian. There are a lot of fat people in the UK, not as many morbidly obese, but tons of chubbies, and no one refrigerates their drinks, soda, juice, unless necessary, which was annoying. Most of the music TV was American. Roads, parks, bike paths are 1,000 times nicer. Very few homeless people, excluding London area, and contrary to popular belief, the food is freaking amazing.
So true. Wait, I have 2 things to say. This is coming from an American saying that there are a lot of fat people in the UK, and this was a culture shock. You're from America with American culture, and your culture shock was going to a European country and seeing fat people. Doesn't add up. And yeah, see, this is the thing with stereotypes, like British people with bad food or French people always being arseholes, right? Is that once that kind of pops up as a stereotype, I feel like it's just built on as kind of a joke, and then it's so exaggerated and people think it's real. And I think people do that all the time. And same with British food. I love British food. It might be my favorite food in Europe, apart from Italian food. I haven't been to Spain. I hear they have good food. But I would say after them, yeah, better than France, in my opinion, for my little limited experience, although it was very good. better than Germany. I love shepherd's pie. It's like one of my favorite foods. Fish and chips, one of my favorite foods. Sunday roast. Oh my God, with the popovers, you call them Yorkshire puddings with gravy. Yabosh. Always pour without looking. What other things? English breakfast. It's like that. It's all delicious. And
no one refrigerates their drinks, soda, juice, unless necessary. In my experience, juice.
You don't refrigerate soda? I can't drink a warm soda.
Yes, soda, before using if possible. A lot of us have really tiny fridges though, so that might be why it gets kept out. The lack of registers in supermarkets. I was in a fairly big supermarket in Germany once and I was surprised how there were only 5 registers at the end. It's really mind-baffling how they can get things done at all.
Germany, famously efficient people.
No free refills. Fucking commies. One of the Burger Putin's Burger Kings in my town just got free refills. That actually was a huge shock. And to think you filthy capitalist fatcats Americans are so
And to think you feel
used to it. Looks like the glorious Soviet Union Russia is finally getting some freedom. Paying to use a bathroom. I'm already spending money eating at your establishment. Now you want me to pay more to take a pee? My natural bodily functions should not cost money.
In a restaurant, even if you pay, I feel like that's not true. Maybe if you just walk in and don't buy anything, it's like, hey, can I use a restroom? No, you need to buy something. But I feel like if you buy something in the restaurant, I'm sure you can use the bathroom.
What if someone has a disease that makes them have to go a lot? It seems unfair.
I don't have a disease, but I've always had stomach issues growing up. And if it's made me, like, some people are afraid of like pooping or peeing in public, right? I got over that fear long ago out of necessity. Like, if I gotta go, I gotta go. And I
agree, but I just usually walk past the attendants. I see it as a donation rather than a proper payment. Sure, these poor people have to clean the toilets to make a living, but the restaurant should have to pay them a fair wage. That cars didn't stop for pedestrians and gypsies, especially gypsy kids. I was in Greece for 3 weeks last summer. Also, whenever a local found out I was from Canada, they would speak French. This is Kato of Power. If you subscribe, your power level will increase by 64 levels. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.
You too. AI voice. That was great. That was funny. Hope I didn't pause too much. I just had a lot to say about the things. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below. Do you agree, disagree with anything that was said here or anything I said? Let me know. Bye, guys. See you next time. Bye.